Okay, so I'll open the meeting and welcome everybody. We've got a bit of a workshop happening after this meeting at 2:45, I believe. So we want to get completed by then. I think we do that, and that meeting is designed to go about an hour, I believe. So, anyway, first of all, I'd like to have you open the meeting at the acknowledgement of country. I think you did that.
Midmurray Council would like to acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional custodians of the land, the Nadjeri, Naywong, Mangaraku, Narkat, Nurrungeri and Paramount peoples of the Midmurray lands and waters. It is upon their ancestral lands and waters that the Midmurray Council meets and operates, and Council pays respect to elders past and present and their spiritual beliefs that are of continuing importance to those First Nations peoples of today. Council further acknowledges the contributions and important role that the First Nations peoples continue to play within the community, and we extend that respect to any peoples in attendance here today.
Thank you. I think everybody's present apart from David Bridges. There's an apology for this meeting. And staff, Maria will call the staff here, so we need to pick that up. So the first item is the confirmation of the minutes from the previous meeting. I haven't seen that, and is somebody prepared to move that? So torching, right? Sorry. And Peter Scott, Council, and Peter's Council target. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Any declarations of interest anybody wants to advise? Deputations. And to reports there. So the first item is the audit management report, the interim one. And I think we've got Glenn from Bentley's, is that right?
David and
David and Benod here.
Oh, okay, it was. I thought.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Okay, so did anybody in the committee want to make any comments on this as initially, or
we want to get the
David, if you want to just give your perspective on the audit as it's gone so far?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we've conducted our interim visit where we focus mainly on the control environment and against the framework, which is the better practice model, which is reasonably robust, particularly for a regional council. And yeah, we found, the things we've raised, unless you want me to go through them individually, I think sort of a fairly transparent. Most of them are sort of just areas for improvement, nothing of any concern, because there are sort of mitigating controls that will ensure that any errors or anomalies will get picked up. But it's just things that I guess if you want to sort of be best practice, just to ensure that there's preventative controls as well as sort of detective controls that you can look at whether it's worth implementing those changes. So, but no, I think the audit process went pretty smoothly. Again, it sort of helps having a consistent team both on our side as well as the council side. So yeah, no real concerns, I guess, from our point of view.
Comment on?
I guess the only thing that I've picked out that concerns me is the prior year issue, that the internal control manual not being updated, and that we haven't done anything about that. Then I think everything else is good pointed out, and I think a lot of it we've fixed, which I think is great.
Yeah, just through the chair, that was just an oversight that we caught up on.
Yeah.
David, I've got a feeling that the detective controls are relatively weak compared to the preventative controls that you have up front. So particularly in regard to the purchasing system. Any comment on that? I didn't feel that the detective controls were really going to do the job, to be honest.
This is on issue number one. Is it the procurement
Yes, it is, yeah. Yeah.
process. Let me just have a look at that. Yeah, if you want to have a quick.
Yeah, I think this matter, we noted that's relevant to many regional councils, not only from Mid-Murray. The uh, the the weakness what we identify is that the segregation of duties and the authority level of staff who can process a payment order, and then whether typically they can approve their own purchase order, and then the council doesn't have separate staff assigned to approve when the goods or service is received. So the same staff are the members they are approving the purchase. So up until to the payment, single person can handle the function. We don't really consider like a significant transaction would be processed by a single person for the staff members. And we tested the sample, and then what we noted, the purchases more than 30,000 actually, there was segregation of duties, even though it is not required. A different person has been processed the approve and the process the purchases. But the below the threshold, the small transaction between 5,000 to 20,000, we noted same staff has processed the purchase order and then has been approved the payment as well. That's the area to improve, but for us, when we consider whether it's a material weakness, we think since the council is purchasing through the suppliers which already has been approved through the procurement process, and then the procurement process was tested, and then we did not find the material weaknesses on that, and then the purchases are done based on the budget. We do not consider that something materially can go wrong, but an area that I think when next time they perhaps when they do the procurement policy, maybe they can just amend a bit how they can. This.
I guess the question was more around reviewing the expense account after the event doesn't strike me as being a very strong control compared to having proper segregation of duties. And I understand that, a small council doesn't have the staff range to, be completely sound on segregation of duties, but nevertheless, it is a risk area. It's probably the biggest risk area that you've highlighted. Do we have a log of audit matters that need to be? A lot of councils have a log of audit matters that we brought up. We can see that they're dealt with over time. Do we have that?
Yeah, so the normal process would be when you had consecutive years of the same auditor, then that would be brought up, and they would normally report on that. Just as the same as we report there, they bring up the last 4 items which were in the previous report. So that's how they're being dealt with. That obviously in the this financial year we're starting now, we'll be going with another firm yet to be advised, but I'm sure they would still be looking at just the same as Bentley's. That if they came into a new council, they would be looking at the previous audit recommendations and interim audit and commenting on those as well. So I suppose that's how it's been covered previously. And probably this is probably except for the fees and charges that we've had here. I'll put my hand on my heart and say that we've had 100% improvement on the previous things that have been reported. Yeah.
I guess there's 12 months between audits, so it might be useful for us to have an internal record of what the auditors raised.
A follow-up report.
Can I just ask one question just about the deductions, the payroll deductions and employee pay slips? My query is just that there's a little bit of an assumption there that everybody checks their pay slips routinely and are my deductions correct and so forth. And I'm sure that's not the case with everybody, but I'm sure a lot of people would too. But I suppose my question is that enough to say if there were errors that we can say, well, you should have checked that yourself as a mitigating factor, or does, they would surely still have some kind of claim, even if it was there and was in error. Are you with me?
Oh, yeah.
We're not
yeah.
waiting for them to
Yeah.
pick it
No,
up.
no,
is
no.
what- is my-
So,
So
yeah.
what's the risk level in terms of if somebody said, well, you've been underpaying, or taking too much, or whatever it might be?
Part of the auditor's comments was just the frequency of someone independently looking at the source documents
Mm.
and ensuring that they are the same. And the other ones where they talk about to ensure that they're within like legislation or legislative requirements, so such things as like tax and other deductions which are bound by some type of legislation, which are kind of reasonably minor, but yeah, I think they're going to be taxation. So yeah, definitely areas of improvement, and yeah, I can follow up with a report.
And through the chair, Peter, so do you think there's improvement in the detective function? Is that right?
No, I think ideally we would have preventative control up front and
And proactive.
Yeah, detective control is fine because it does help you to
Yeah.
sort of assess the situation after the fact, but it's always better to have
Proactive
preventive control.
So the ideal situation is, the auditors probably agree on the floor, have the system control in place, so then it doesn't need any monitoring. It stops people from doing stuff that they're not supposed to. So, and my comments was, we have got a legacy type of a system which has been operating now for well over 20 years. And I'll go back to the software providers and actually say, is there anything that will stop? Can we put in that enforce people that create the requisition can't authorise the order? And if not, so maybe council then needs to look at updating that purchasing system. So
Yeah.
we have proactive controls in place, not detective ones.
It's a good idea, yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
That's all. But Peter, did you want to make a change to the recommendation, or are you comfortable with?
What was the recommendation?
It's just to be received.
I think we can just check it on.
We can just have it as action.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll do the internal report after 6
I'll do a
months.
follow-up report,
Follow-up
yeah.
report.
Yeah, I think
I don't
that'd
think you
be-
need it in the,
Okay.
Yeah, rather than, that's rather
Yeah.
than changing.
Agenda down.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so can I have a mover for the recommendation then? Yeah, sorry. Peter, all those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Okay, thank you, David and.
thank you, David. Good, mate.
Okay, thanks
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.
Cheers.
So next item is the audit plan. Yeah. John's left now? or is
John
it-
has left now, so basically, this is just reinforcing that the council receive a audit plan, and obviously interim audit's finished, and year end will commence from the 29th September, 1st of October, and clearance to be given about the 10th November. So what the auditors have identified is what they'll be relating to this year's audit is really revaluation of assets, which is obviously a big dollar figure. Grant revenue recognition, which to ensure that it's categorised correctly, and to look at corporate overheads as well. And just for information, I'll also put one of the next one, sorry. No, sorry, later on. I have got in another report, full cost attribution policy, and it talks about the overheads in there as well. But it's basically pretty straightforward. The Mid-Murray audit plan of 2025.
Raising issues.
No, there's definitely a theme that goes through risks being highlighted by auditors across the whole sector.
Seen it before, have you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly the same wording, sort of,
It's a risk.
it's certainly not.
Yeah.
to just refine the rules.
Okay, could I have someone to move the step? Peter, Q, all those in favour? It's carried. Thank you.
Just John finished last Thursday. We got our blood out of the stone and we got him to do
Yeah.
2 reports. And then he retired.
I
He
can
still
see-
lives
I
in
can
the
see the
report.
blood on the paper. Okay, we'll move to item 7.3 then, which is the update of long-term financial plan, business plan and the budget. We'll talk about that, Clive.
Yeah, just through the chair, this is an annual report that comes to the audit committee just to inform what's happened between the audit committee looking at the reports for public consultation, the various budgets and long-term financial plan, and then what happened. So basically, because of the quite a lot of growth, what happened was after public consultation, it was recommended council reduce rate increases for existing properties, and then the council on the adoption of the annual business plan and long-term financial plan thought there was a bit more scope to give further relief. So it was the existing rate increase was reduced by another 0.5%. So and from that, there was a number of other amendments, which are actually on page 35, talking about the increased rates and then the reduction. And then we've highlighted that we'll find that $86,500 savings. And then there was a number of items. One of the major, and then I suppose one of the major things was to take into account the financial assistance grant, which was received in June for $2.3 million. So all those have been packed into the budget and the balance sheet, more importantly.
That's through the chair, just the swims as well. So the decision was made to implement the full cost attribution into the swims schemes, but not the annuity or the depreciation or the sinking fund. So further work's going to be done. We got some strong feedback on that from the ratepayers impacted by that, and it was agreed that we could do some further work to make sure we're.
So what's the difference in terms of a depreciation charge, and is one looking backwards and one looking forward? So I guess
So if you look at the depreciation of CMWS, the old school was that we would recover the depreciation on an annual basis.
Yep.
When with SCOSA and their pricing principles, they're saying that when the assets have been gifted to council, either by government grants or contributions or a mixture of contributions from the landowners, that council shouldn't be recovering depreciation. They should be looking forward to when the renewal is required, and then basically working an annuity forward of what needs to be contributed to enable enough funds at that different points of time to fund that renewal. So
that's just when the assets have been gifted to, otherwise you worked on a depreciation basis.
or a combination. If it was like basically 50% gifted and 50% funded by council, then you would actually have a mixture. There is a CMWS pricing principle paper which still hadn't been finalised. It's been going for a number of months. Their solution is when there's gifted funds that council would not do an annuity, but they would actually just take a loan out at that point of time. The issue is that all of our council CMWSs have been gifted by one way or another.
Yeah.
So to me, to wait until you occur renewals on 28 different schemes and at different times, it would be quite complex. I think it'd be better to do a calculation of the annual fee. One will be the running costs, to cover the projected running costs for the new year, and the other portion will be the annuity, what needs to be placed in, and unfortunately, the costing paper doesn't talk that way, but the SCOSA pricing principles definitely does. So I'll do a financial model, and it'll be basically based on cash flow, on how to calculate those.
So you're building up a bit of sinking fund to just.
Yeah.
Exactly. We smooth it out
Yeah.
and have enough funds in there
Yeah.
when it is
Yeah, for the-
renewed, rather than wait till it needs to be renewed.
Yeah.
And then take a loan out. There was probably, again, some terminology. Some of the feedback was on the use of depreciation versus use of an annuity or sinking fund.
Yeah.
The bottom line is we want funds built up so that we can renew the asset when it needs
Yeah.
to.
I mean, logic would tell you if you were paying for the asset, you would put in the asset and then you recover the depreciation
Yeah.
over the next 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it might
Yeah.
be. And then you would spend again and you'd carry on. But if you're not paying for the asset up front, then it makes sense to.
This is a bit of a minefield, really, isn't it? To manage individual systems.
You should see the spreadsheets.
Yes, well,
It's only going to get more complicated.
there's no way of trying to sort of smooth this into a holistic system like Parker have got, and Trina have got, where you can
Makes a lot of sense.
take over the assets. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just thinking
it makes a
out-
lot of sense, but
Yeah.
we would die by death by 1,000 cuts from the ratepayers.
And I think
From a
because
political point of view.
Yeah,
in
because
terms
some
of the
aren't paying
change.
very much, some have put in a really good system and some have
Yeah.
put in a crappy system, and
Yeah, yeah.
combine them, they're paying for
Yeah.
somebody else's.
Because they're all done individually.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the decisions were to
Yeah.
get a go-go Mobile, or to get a Mercedes Benz.
And-
And so
Yeah,
they wouldn't, yeah, they-
yeah.
A very difficult political decision,
There's-
and I'd be for it just for the ease,
Yeah.
because I've seen the spreadsheets.
Yeah,
so the issue is several only got 6 connections,
yeah,
and they're obviously quite expensive because you have standard costs like water
Yeah.
tests, just going there for general
Business
maintenance,
scale,
etc. The levy for the EPA is the same. It doesn't matter whether you've got 300 connections or you've got 6, it's exactly the same. And then some of those smaller ones, they've got to irrigate up the cliff. So, you know, the costs, are quite high. So you can have ones which are $1,600.
Yeah.
There's some of the smaller ones, and some of the larger ones are, around, the $300, $400 mark. So.
all right, leave it to you.
so that was a key change
Yeah.
from a
Yes.
change to the long-term funding.
Yeah,
And the full cost attribution on the CDR, so you're going to phase that in over 4 years. Residential.
Yeah, over, so this current year and the following 4 years, yeah.
So just gradually build up. Is it?
Yep.
Yep. Guys, that's the timing of the assistance grants will mean that you'll have a big surplus in 2024-25 compared to.
Depends whether they give us another advance or not.
But we're past
No,
June now,
24,
we're past
25,
24,
yeah.
25.
Oh, so 24-25 is basically overstated. If you
Yes.
look at there, there's
But it's
basically
just a timing
150,
issue, yeah.
150%
Yeah.
of bags.
So whilst you're
System
showing a
grants.
deficit next year, you'll have a big surplus in
Yeah.
25.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
very likely they'll give us half again at the end of the year.
That's
and of course
right,
then
and it will roll forward.
And that's
so-
sort of what we've asked. If you're gonna keep doing it, so do it the
Yeah.
same every year.
Yeah, and then we can budget.
Because
the
last
same
year
way.
they
Year after
gave-
they tried, but they
Yeah.
sent it on June 30 to
Too
the
late.
state.
And so
the
went into
state
this-
didn't get it until July, so we got it in July.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It is, very felt like a certainty as well.
That's
Yep.
something we've talked about for many, many years, for the 8 years I've been in local government.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
they seem to be working on a cash basis where.
Or they need to get rid of their funds before, or
Yeah.
depending on how their figures look, this is the thing.
So
I think
yeah, one
they-
year
they
was
decided a week
100%,
before.
and generally it's 50%.
Yeah.
That they try to
Yeah.
give them.
Yeah, it depends on whether there's an election and what they want their bank to look like just before the
Yeah.
election.
And then they always try to make it as a positive. Well,
Yeah.
It doesn't
Oh,
matter.
look
We
at
just want
us,
it to be
everything's going
consistent.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And
yeah.
the LGN and South Australia are quite happy in getting an advance but pay it on the 1st of July.
Yeah.
Mm.
So when you do your public documents, it's probably important that you emphasise that,
we-
because it will be a
yeah.
big factor in terms of how the rate base.
Yeah, we talk about an
bottom
adjusted
line.
result.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
pretty clear on
Yeah.
that, but no one reads.
No.
We do.
Sorry, and the only other question I had was on the renewals. So the ratio is 127%. Is that a catch up on
Definitely.
previous years?
And the catch up is continual over probably the next 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. But yeah, wouldn't the AMPs just to reflect the high level of expense, so that when you renew your AMPs, they take account of the fact that you've got a backlog and therefore just go back to 100%.
If infrastructure updated the annual business plan annually, yeah.
Yeah.
But hasn't been the practice here. It's only been done once every 4 or 5 years.
Okay,
So then so long-term financial plan is updated annually.
Yeah.
But the asset management plans aren't. So
but as you
so
renew the asset management plans, they'll presumably come back to 100%.
Oh, it should be, yeah.
If they have the planned expenditure. So it's only a ratio of AMP expenditure against.
Yeah, that's right.
Planned spend.
The asset requirement to renewal versus, and then what we're doing is budgeting with what we think we're going to renew. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So the end result was you've got an operating deficit of $1.7 billion. And that is improved by the financial assistance grant. Is that how I read this?
No, it's because the financial assistance grants to push back into 24, 25.
So the underlying deficit is.
Let's go to the attachments.
So the phase of effectively being moved back.
Sorry.
The assistance grants have effectively been moved back to June to the previous financial year.
Yeah.
And therefore it results in a deficit in the next year because of the way that it's budgeted at the time.
Yeah, until they give us another lot in June
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
That's
It
right.
says an operating
But you
deficit
haven't got that in your budget,
for
so-
1.7 million
Sure.
or adjusted of
Oh, yeah.
428,000.
Yeah. All right. As that's the case, as somebody that move the resolution was recommended. Peter,
Yeah.
moved and seconded. Thank you. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. To item 7.4, which is Glenn's task. Yeah, thank you. Do you want to just sort of explain, take us through your report?
Thanks, Peter. Through the chair, stormwater drainage was undertaken in fair value assessment by Insights. Total value of the stormwater drainage assets is nearly $18 million. From the report, draft stormwater drainage asset management plans created, therefore attached to the document as well. That council consultation with the community. We've also attached the draft stormwater drainage asset management engagement plan as well. There's information that'll be referred on to council. Stormwater drainage assets currently have a long life, being concrete, looking at the 100-year mark. Therefore, from the figures that you may have seen, the renewals are at the $149,000 over the 10 years.
Yeah.
So you're expecting your asset not to deteriorate over that next 10 years because they've got 100 life expectancy anyway. That's what we calculated on through the valuation assessment. But renew and upgrade is quite different because that generally looks at capacity. or extensions, or if you're putting in curb and channeling, which isn't part of this plan, but you've got to have somewhere to carry the water.
Yeah.
So it's different, it becomes new, and part of the report, it talks about not undertaking the new upgrade without getting 100% funding. And I just referred to on page 64, figures there may need to will need to be adjusted. Page 64, the projected 10-year capital new upgrade needs to read $7,027,662. So $702,000 a year for new upgrade. But it's also got a comment in there, we're not undertaking those works unless we get funding to support those works, because it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
There might be other alternatives that we might have to consider through that work. There is money through the Stormwater Drainage Authority, but then they like councils to have a strategic document to explain what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and even the costs associated with those works. And if you've got those lined up, they have to provide the funding. But if you haven't got a strategy document, this would be for part of that as well. The asset management plan. It's a high likelihood of getting something. I'm not sure the arrangement is 100%, but there is funding. It'd be at least 50%.
I think it's 100. I think we've applied the last couple of years and
Yeah.
been unsuccessful. So it's something we could look at from a strategic
Yeah.
perspective, and maybe this will help us be able to access some of that funding.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So, yeah, just another plan for the future direction for the
Yeah.
next 4 to 5 years. And on the back of it, Appendix A, there's a 15-year capital works program, but 10 years has been used for the figures into the document. It's the $7 million just over for new upgrade works, plan works. But wouldn't be proceeding with that unless there's the funding
Yes.
that supports that external funding. Yeah.
I guess the other side of that is the community expectations in terms of managing stormwater.
Yeah.
Yeah. New assets in particular. Upgrades.
And the risk associated with it as well, the last thing that we do try is not protect the properties, the houses, the property. Roads can flood, and actually designed to carry water in a 1 in 100-year event. That's common. That's why people might think, well, that's not right, but actually it's been designed to carry the water away. But flooding of properties is definitely something that we seriously need to consider. That's the case from a risk perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my public consultation is to highlight that.
Correct. That might
If anybody
flesh
reads
out
it, of
some
course,
discussion on it.
And also the context of a regional council as
Yeah,
well, and what flooding looks like in a regional context versus what it does in the metropolitan area as well.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
One thing I wondered about is, I didn't see mentioned here at all, is the influence of climate change, because I had a drainage engineer at Salisbury who told me that that climate change is going to make storms much more significant here, and getting closer to what they had at Queensland. He said if that happens, Salisbury is going to be flooded, Horse Lakes is going to be flooded.
Yeah.
And I heard someone on the radio recently who was from the shore department that's talking about rainfall is becoming, because of climate change, is becoming more intense. Maybe less water, but when it happens, it'll be more intense, and that's going to cause flooding problems.
Yeah.
So I just wondered whether, sort of in this sort of assessment, whether that was at all considered, whether it's thought of as a problem, or whether in another iteration might have to look at that a bit more.
Through the chair, that probably comes out, it is considered, so, but it's also part of the design process of designing the drainage, the implementation.
Yeah.
But it's certainly considered, and it'll be also part of the Stormwater Authority analysis of your strategy when you do get a strategy to take it forward with those things you consider. I do know that they consider that design phase.
And also,
Potential change in climate.
yeah, and I think that this should also be part of a broader climate action plan for council. As well, which covers a lot of areas, but certainly would include stormwater, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Can I don't even know if this is, this may just be me not understanding. But it says that the annual indexation isn't included. And I didn't know whether an estimate should be included so we know the real cost, or is it done in a different way?
Exactly right. So because the stormwater drain, all the asset management plans are only done every 4 to 5 years.
Yeah,
Inflation could double.
yeah.
So you can't put it in real terms in,
You can't
yeah,
even
you could at
estimate.
that time,
Mm.
but then the document's out of date. It's better to put it, it's as at the, 2024-25 values. And then each year when I prepare the long-term financial plan, I look at the RBA forecasts, and then adjust those appropriately. So then you're kind of like trying to match them, because if you fix them if you try to forecast them in the asset management plan, I'd have to kind of reduce them back to whenever they're
You might
operated.
forecast 2.5 and then
Yeah.
it's 4
That's right.
for this year.
There's too long a period between revaluations.
That's
I get
right,
you.
yeah.
Yes.
But it's taken care of.
That's right. In the long-term financial plan, we'll be updating it annually. So,
Thanks.
yeah. And
Hello.
I suppose tells
Please take a seat.
our the assumptions which we've put together long-term financial plan.
I also think, well, and Simone and I were just talking about this before the meeting, this whole question of capital renewal, we want sustainability, of course we do, but you can't ignore, deterioration of huge assets either. So,
No, this isn't the renewal, this is new capital new, so yeah,
no,
what
but that
what is the
too.
$7 million made up of? What do we need? What sort of strategies can we put in place so that we can make sure we're getting funding? That's the thing that bothers me. In the report, page 111, it sort of shows each year what we might need if we were going to go to capital new, but it doesn't explain the projects. Would that normally?
The projects are Appendix A,
Excellent. Thank
so
you.
they're all outlined there in comment notes on the right-hand side. I would admittedly say it's probably quite small to see to fit into the page.
Page ones.
I'll be able to expand that on the computer. So there's comments there.
Oh.
So what would we do with the funds if we
Excellent.
receive the funds?
And I think that's something council can look at, how we're going to make sure we do get some new stuff in there. Although, yeah, we do like financial sustainability, but we do like to do the right thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's
The other-
balancing act.
Just a very small note, page 90, it talking about I and we, and I was a bit confused. I sort of went down who signed this, so maybe just a bit of different wording on page 90. of
Page
the
90.
committee, so not necessarily.
Okay.
Just so that, the reader can understand down the bottom left hand. But apart from that, I'm all good with that.
I was just going to ask about I was struggling with this, the obsolescence allowance.
Oh, yes.
Does that mean that we've got assets that are not in service anymore, they're obsolete as such that they're not in service anymore, or is it just a book entry to bring that value?
They're linked to the condition of the asset.
Yep.
So 1 to 5 is the standard. 0 being new asset,
Yep.
6 being end of life, and it's linked to that. So there's a percentage. If you say the asset's in a 0 condition, that would be 100%. It'd be none.
Yeah.
So it's linked to whatever condition the auditor believes that should apply to the asset.
But they
That's with
my
my
so
input.
they're still like they're functioning.
Yes, they are.
So how I interpret it is
Conditions.
it's to the percentage till they're obsolete
Yeah.
or at end of life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so there's an adjustment or an allowance for that.
So 3 is at 50%.
Yeah.
So 50% of it's still in capacity.
Yeah.
Or in operating, and the other, no,
Yeah.
because you've given it a score of 50%.
Yeah.
It's only probably a relatively new concept in the last 5 years where they use that.
Mm.
I've never used it probably much before, but it's been encouraged to use that on
So
the
there's a
values.
big impact on the renewals in terms of assets that need to be
Assets new
renewed,
upgrade.
in the near future rather than, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so-
the 7 million's about the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
Of expansion. Because the assets that are currently there have got a life expectancy of say 100 years. So the 150,000 over the 10 years, there's some works that have been noted and found that need to be addressed in a few years' time with that money, but nothing else renewable. So it's not about, it's generally about capacity or new, like a development goes in, even though the developers may pay and gift you that asset, that becomes assets 100%. We still might need to expand our network of stormwater drainage so it doesn't incur an impact later on. Or we put in the curb and channeling, but we need to somewhere to pipe it, put in SCP, side entry pits, junction boxes.
Yeah.
As well.
All right, thank you.
All right, excellent. No further question, we'll move on. A recommendation that the draft stormwater asset management plan report be received. Recommends that we go for public consultation and subject to public consultation process, council will receive a further report to consider and endorse the asset management plan. Is anybody happy to do that? Yeah. Thank you. Second. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. So asset management plans update. So who's going to ask for that? Is that you again?
Yeah, that's fair enough, through the chair. River Structures Asset Management Plan was endorsed by council in July. That's been uploaded to council's website. Moving on to buildings, land and structures, open spaces, well as included in that asset class. APV were commissioned. They came here for 1 week. An assessment, evaluation and condition. We are yet to receive the data information. I'm expecting that next week, and that'll be circulated amongst each staff for comment before it's been completed and signed off by the valuers. Their value. From that, then an asset management plan will be created. I'm expecting to get that to the November Audit and Risk Committee. Also working on the plant machinery fleet asset management plan, replacement plan for 10 years. So that's commenced, engaged pickles auctions. We have to get some valuations on our existing fleet. Now we can get some detail and data on replacement costs values from companies for like, and just going through that process at the moment. So, yeah, and this financial year is a new asset class is roads for revaluation. It's included as well. So it's really great.
Okay. Forward, I think. Has anybody got any further questions? Over. Sorry, then. Peter. All those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Okay, next item, work health and safety update. Is this you, Clive?
No, we've got Heather here.
Thanks, Heather. Do you want to just give us a brief
overview? Through the chair, if I may, we had an audit a couple of years ago. We got some non-conformances against the performance standards for self-insurers, being working towards rectifying with action plans and programs to update our systems and processes in that. Probably the best bit to look at is we've had some internal audits done as well with our internal validation program. So local government risk services come out and do internal audits with us. So we've had a couple done in 24, and we've just had one done in 25 as well with contractor management. So we develop action plans and work through rectification and improvement of our systems in that space. And looking at our loss ratio at the moment, because of our really large claims that we had in 2023 in our flood recovery has affected our no claim, our rebate across that space. But our claims in the workers' comp space have declined dramatically with the costs declining as well. So that's a bonus for us that it didn't continue on that trend, because that would have been quite disastrous for us. Unless there's any questions?
Okay, any questions?
I was trying to work my way through the table on page 154, which I think is.
Yep.
Could you just explain to us how it works? So,
So it's a rolling 4-year period.
yeah,
So we have our year that we contribute, the cost.
yeah,
And that is based against our wages in that space.
yeah.
Has percentages, but our rebate entitlement, 50% of that is based on our claims and 50% is based on our rebate action plan. So we've been rolling anywhere between 100 and 90% for our action plan closeouts, but our claims did go up quite dramatically in that 23-24 period in that. So that's where it's caused us the issues. But our gross contribution against our wages, there will be a saving because our estimated wages went in at 11.6 billion.
Yeah.
That's actually going to be less than that. So that'll actually give us a better saving across that space into next year.
So that figure of 155,000, which is total rebates,
Yes.
where does that come from? How is that calculated?
That comes off our contribution for that period. So gross contribution is 454.
Yeah.
Our rebate, which is the 79,000, nearly 80,000 for our guaranteed component and our rebate, that comes to that 155.
So those
Less
two,
than $3,999.
yeah. So those two $79,000,
Mhm.
where do they come? How are they calculated?
They're a percentage of that. So part of that is our claims,
Yeah.
which is the top section that shows where our claims are at for our workers' comp claims. The other bit is on our rebate action plan. So we create a plan to local government services.
Yeah.
And they approve that plan. And if we actually achieve the full 100% of that plan, they'll give us a bonus for it.
So is that on the 90% action plan closeout?
Yes.
Is that where that comes from?
Yep. And I can forward through in our last audit committee report, I think we had the training and information brochure of how all these figures are calculated for you.
That would be lovely, yeah.
So we can share that.
Yeah,
So
please.
you have low claims, you
Yeah.
bonus goes up as well.
No,
So you get rewarded. for
You get
that.
rewarded both ways.
Not
which
not
goes
having that.
well.
I understand the principle, it was just where the numbers came from,
Yeah.
I was just struggling with it, but
Yeah.
that's fine. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Was well done in, I like saying that it was going the opposite way.
Yes.
Good, so somebody prepared to move the recommendation that the report be received. And the vote seconded by Simone, all those in favour? Yeah, thank you. Emergency management plan.
Through the chair, if I may.
So again,
Yes, me again. All our emergency management documents review has been held. The local government functional support group and the local government association are releasing brand new draft documents on the 12th of August. So we've held over our review, knowing that all these documents are coming. They say that they're going to be simplified and more easy and user friendly. We'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for that information to come out, we've been doing a lot of training within our workforce on the new iResponder framework. So we've been rolling out training across all of our organisation in regard to local government liaison officers, iResponder bushfire, iResponder plant. iResponder is basically saying how to do a risk assessment if I actually want to go to an emergency. Do we have the capability or the capacity to go assist in this emergency? So we've been doing a lot of training within our workforce for that. So if something happens, we're in a prime spot to be able to assist. And we use that all during the flood. So that's the emergency management. If there's any questions?
thank you. Queries?
Still hefty documents.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put the recommendation, which is to receive the report. All those in favour, Peter, sorry. Peter moved that, so I second this. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Yeah, thank you. Business continuity plan update. Hello.
Again, business continuity plan. So we've got all of our paperwork in place at this point. We're actually, as part of the restructure and service provisions program and phases we're going through in that space, we're looking at our business process assessment and business impact assessments across that space and reviewing those in the preparation for the next lot of business continuity updates. What we're also doing across that space is we've updated all our IT information within it. So on our next review of our business continuity, it will align to our new organisational framework that we're going through and doing at this point, and our business impact assessment will help us with that. We have put a proposal through to Local Government Risk Services for them to come back with their specialist team, and if they would like to put a proposal to us to help with all the internal risk assessments that we will now need to redo.
Does that come free or is it a charge?
Sometimes you can get it free. Sometimes you can actually use your risk incentive funds, which is their money that they give back to us to pay their bill.
So kind.
So we're waiting to see what they're going to offer. Usually councils will get a lot of services offered to us every 2 or 3 years, like we get demographic inspections free, we get use of Chem Alert, Sky Trust, all those sorts of things as being a member. So we're hoping that their business continuity program will fall into that space again, like it did previously.
Anybody have any?
I just wondered if, did we consider paying suppliers as being a critical function? I know we've got paying wages as being critical, but we have to make sure we can pay suppliers, otherwise they're not good service.
So previously, we've looked at all the different functions and that was, brought up, but it wasn't deemed to be a deemed one.
A critical function that would fall across all of council. It's actually a sub-function plan for the business and for financial and corporate services to look at that, but as a whole of council, we don't have payment suppliers in that space. We have our employees.
Yeah.
With council meetings and I can't remember all the other ones.
Yeah,
swims and all those sorts of things in there.
Payroll is deemed to be one.
Yeah,
I do have it.
yeah, I can see that. I just wondered if supplies and stuff, joint service.
We can just give that some thought as part of the next review.
Yeah, when we go through the business process assessment, that'll be part of what we look at. Is that something that we need to have? So at the moment, we've got council meetings, payroll, customer service centres and waste disposal.
Okay, thanks.
And they've all been rated on the number of days until they become crucial. So I suppose payroll versus has a higher impact.
Other questions? Somebody care to move this? Indeed, seconded by Simone. All those in favour, it's carried. Thank you. And then next item, policy and procedure review.
I'll talk to that.
Yep.
Through the chair, Peter. So something that we do annually, provide a summary to the audit risk committees for their consideration, or twice yearly, sorry. So it identifies the policies that are out of date that do need a review. We'll note in attachment 1, it lists them in some commentary, and there's a plan in place to update, revoke, review all of those outstanding policies. There's some coming to August, or going to be briefed in the next month, and then come to September. So I'm reasonably comfortable that we've got something in place to deal with those outstanding policies. But if there's something that is of a significant issue to the committee, please raise it and we can make sure it is actioned.
Simone?
Just through the chair, there's some policies being like the closed CCTV policy, our dark sky policy, let the member to the record management policy that all our data don't have notes. Is that just we haven't quite worked out what we're going to do it?
I'll
Full path policy is another one.
take that on. So the outstanding policies has been given to all of the directors to review and put a plan in place. So they may not have just updated the notes in this section. So I will follow that up.
And just to share, like some of those going through the sustainability reports, like the CCTV is one which will be briefed to council soon. So it's kind of like, you know, it's not left doing a policy until
Yeah, yeah.
council gives
See if we
direction.
get it in the notes.
In the notes
Yeah.
section.
Yeah, there's about 8, I think, that were missing notes that are actually out of date.
Yeah.
I just wondered whether the artificial intelligence policy is not due to be reviewed until 2028.
Probably up to date already.
Well, it might need to be constantly reviewed.
Get it
but,
to do itself.
Well, that's the trick. Is it actually going to do itself? No, fair point. We instigated, I think that's last year, or maybe even earlier this year. Can't remember when we finalised it, but yeah, that's something that would need to be updated regularly.
Soon, yeah. I just noted a typo on page 275 if you, on community wastewater management systems. You got under the last review by councils 2028. Oh, it's just a typo.
We're that good.
Yeah, you've done a pretty.
That's AI for you.
That's wishful thinking. Okay, so other questions? If not, so would somebody care to move this report as being received? Peter, thank you very much. Andy, thank you. All those in favour? It's carried. And on 7.10, Treasury Management, please review.
Yeah, just for the chair, annually we do a report looking at our loan borrowings, our investments. This is quite a good report to read. And I was going to say that on page 283, it's not an error that our average borrowing interest rate of 2.42 is lower than our investment interest of 4.15, which is quite strange.
There's one reason for that.
Yeah, so that was because of council was fortunate enough to put $5 million in at borrowing at 1.85%, and basically being able to reinvest that at a high percentage when required. Yeah,
Fantastic.
so
Yeah.
quite good results, like the borrowings 6.84 million and deposits at the June were 8.7 million. So we're in a net positive position. Probably I thought I'd just mention that with the 6 fixed term loans that we have there, they consist of Udunda Road, which was reconstructed several years ago, to relate to the purchase of water for Manham Waters, where we had to cover the evaporation. 79% of that is funded by the separate rate that we put against the properties there. There's one there for the bowling club at Manham here. Council subsidise the interest on that only by 1/3. Then the 2 remaining ones are fully funded external loans. One for the Swan Reach Caravan Parks MWS connection, and the other one is with the community church just around the corner here, the Wellbeing Centre. So when you look at our fixed term loans, the far majority of those are actually being funded.
Yeah, that's great.
And through the chair, just a comment, Clive and I met with the LGFA a couple of weeks ago, and they were very positive about our financial position and the improvements we've had. One of the things they've commented and they've written to me only this week about some of our instruments that we've got too many, and we may not need them. And so we'll consider that and that'll come to the committee for a
We just
discussion.
like the evidence of how good we're doing.
So I think that's probably got to do with their ratios and how they, if they've got too much on their books, that.
Yeah, I think as we register capacity of instruments, and then they've got to do that with the state treasury. So they're saying, if you don't need
You're
all
gonna
the
use
money, then we can
Yeah.
reduce our
Yeah.
exposure or liability we're asking from the state government. So
I think that's probably the key driver. There's also an element of, if you've got it, you might use it inappropriately, and they've seen it through councils across the. We might decide to fund the stormwater through one of these instruments that we may not need to do. So, but I think if you've got good treasury management processes in place and good decision making in the chamber, then just because you've got borrowing capacity
Yeah.
doesn't mean you actually have to.
Use it, yeah. Okay, have some other questions about the mover for this variation? Seconded by Peter. All those, sorry?
Read your mind.
All those in favour? That's carried.
Very big thanks to John, because I'm sure he'll be watching for the last one.
Yeah, of course he is.
He's going on a cruise to Europe, I think. What you do when you retire.
Look at it when he gets back. Okay, leave liabilities is a annual event, but
Again, one of those things that auditors pick up at every council.
does anybody say any questions? In case, let's have a first, move it, please. Smiley, thank you, Mandy, second, all those in favour, it's carried. Full cost attribution,
yeah, just for the chair.
to the ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just an update that we're working through, and I've just done it. I've nearly finished my second sweep of review of some of the drivers, just to ensure they're correct. I suppose I'm a bit cautious that, like CNWS, that'll be looked at, and who knows, might be reported to authorities, and I want to be squeaky clean on those. So yep. And enclosed, I've got the full cost attribution policy. I couldn't find one available at any other council, so I made my own. And
Tell
then,
anybody, it'll get copied.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
and also because of works overhead, which is another method of distributing costs, I thought it was appropriate that I put that in there, and it's documented under the future as well.
So it's called the time.
Yeah, trademark it.
Well,
That's it.
No, that's right.
Now with ChatGPT, someone else is
Just
gonna.
take it.
Yeah.
Go on. Well done. I'm very excited about this, as you all know.
Clive just wants to benchmark the some of the drivers.
Yeah, yeah.
And thanks, Clive, for all of your work on this. It's not been an easy job, but it really makes our financials A+, I think.
Yeah, I think once I've got it settled down and running on a monthly basis, it'll be, it would be a lot easier,
Something-
and just a review on an annual basis for the drivers.
Something like Pro Hill TV. How is like the IT guys' wages go to that? That's a bit ad hoc.
Yeah, so they need to be astute to book to the job when they actually do that. It's probably the Bow Hill TV, not so much. It'll be more like when they get calls through the water. Yeah, so
I was talking to the IT guy and I go, how do you cost that? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Should I ask it?
so previously the maintenance of the
Yeah,
Bow Hill TV is
and that's
done
easy,
by
it's
a
an
contractor,
invoice.
and he's got a maintenance agreement, and he can remote in to look at the analysis of it, and in the odd case he gets someone to restart the system, the computer if it needs to restart. So
it's internal costs.
Yeah, I just know he spent a few hours on this one case, so is there a way that he can at least cost his hours to that to make sure that it is?
Yeah, like if he's dedicated time, he should probably really be putting some hours to it, where it's that's kind of really rather unique, I suppose, where normally we just you might get a call, a complaint through customer service, and they'll actually pass it on to RF Works, which being the contractor there. So it's been pretty clear. It's just now that person now is looking at retiring, or he is semi-retired now. So he was the person which has been looking at it since it's been implemented. So we're basically getting a lot of information from him, diagrams, and trying to basically get into the document as much as you can, and then give us recommendations who he knows in that field, because it's a very specialist field, to look at doing that maintenance in the future. So when we had the flood, and because there's optic fibres through there, we actually had to get a York company from the York Peninsula to come through and actually join back up and rejoin the signals because of all the damage to the water. So it's unique. It goes well when it's running straight, but checking the flood and whatever. So
The only issue with full cost attribution is that you don't keep control of costs, and there's a risk that if people are seeing their costs just going out to other areas, they think, oh, well, that's fine. It's not under my control anymore. It's so you just got to be a bit careful as to who's actually controlling.
Yeah. True, and I think now that puts a reflection on the costs where they're coming from, and council now, with sustainability and efficiencies. As I mentioned before, we probably need to invest in some technology that we haven't previously. So
people seeing these costs come through on a monthly basis, sort of thing, or is it done after the events?
So on a monthly basis, they will come through on the management reports.
Right.
Yeah, so we've Clive did last year's at part of the end of year functions, because obviously it was new.
Yeah.
But he'll set up a system where it's monthly push through.
Push through.
It'll be auto generated on percentage based on the actuals on the drivers going through.
And it's all budgeted, so they shouldn't be surprised. It'll only be the work stuff that's already done.
And it was included in the 25-26 budget.
Yeah, I understand they don't have any role in controlling that cost as.
Yeah, it's like depreciation.
Taken look at it. The other question I had was, is government, if you can call it that, or governance a function, or is it a cost that's distributed? Because I wonder about whether, having a council servicing the council and all of that doesn't really seem to be an administrative cost that should then go to all the other costs.
So I followed the Grants Commission with their purpose codes, and their governance is not, I call it support service. Yeah, it's a external.
It's a function.
Service function. Yeah. And it gets distributed. Yeah, costs.
Okay. Good. Other comments, then got the recommendation that the report be received. So very good quality report, and this it's going to be something of an iteration over the years, I suspect. But anyway, so Peter's moved it. So any second, all those in favour? It's carried. CEO's annual report on internal control practices. Very good report.
Yes, through the chair, obviously I'm required to do that. And Clive, thank you for working through that with me to do it. But if we don't have an internal control function, we have to provide a report. It outlines the process that we follow and the steps we've got in place. As you know, we have a very good consultant who's just sitting over there, who provides us a report, and we look to do that annually, make sure that we are reviewing and working through our work plan to make sure we've got things in control or in place to manage that. But I think the report notes that we may consider an internal function in the future.
Yeah, noted that.
And I think it's also noted in the report that there's no format or template for what this report looks like. So we've again created our own to satisfy that. And as the committee, we need to report to you so that you can note that.
Yep. Good.
Is it worth mentioning in the report that the external auditors are required to review the internal financial controls, comment on those, strengthens the report as such, and they've done that and have only highlighted minor issues?
It was interesting when I was reading their interim report. They made a statement the previous year about internal controls, and they would, you know, basically gave their opinion in the interim, but this time they haven't, which I think is probably the right thing to do, because doing their financial audit, they could come across something.
Yeah.
So probably at this stage, the
Right,
external
so might come into
auditors
next
really
year's.
haven't given their opinion.
Yeah, okay, so it might come
Compared to
next
previous year, which is, I think, better way. If I was them, that's what I'd be doing as well.
Yeah,
But they generally say so they haven't said it's likely that we will give a clean audit.
No,
Okay.
they
generally
said
do that,
during the
yeah.
interim audit, they haven't found anything material.
Yeah. We've
But
said,
they haven't given us
But
the
they might
audit
do it.
sign off yet.
we've said that they'll most likely give us a favourable audit opinion. But they haven't.
Okay, right. All right, thank you.
okay, other issues, the recommendation is that the CEO report into trials that be received. And the risk committee having reviewed the 2024-25 annual report. Effective internal control is themes that the work undertaken is aligned to providing adequate level of internal control. So we have to move that, yes, nice. Either, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All those in favour, second. Harry, thank you. Okay. Nearly there, Corin. The status of the audit and risk committee work program.
It's just through the chair, this is our monthly report, and read it as it is, unless anyone wants to bring up.
Sorry, through the chair, we just missed 7.14. Awareness of council reports first.
Oh.
Oh, that's what I was talking about too.
Keep going, we're on a 7.14.
Awareness of council reports here, so a monthly report we always have, so we put the orders of business for the last three meetings there. So quite happy to answer any questions, or if any, especially the independent members got anything that wish to be expanded on.
Nice,
I've just got a quick question, because you guys are on other audit committees, and this is something that's new. Is that the similar format that is done in your other chairs?
I
Other
haven't
committees?
come across it anywhere. So,
No, I haven't either. It's quite useful, but
Really, it's just a regurgitation of the information and it's there,
Yeah.
but I thought it was a legislative requirement of changes, so.
I think during previous audit committee meetings, something might have been picked
Oh,
up.
maybe came up.
And this was a way to keep, especially independent members, what's happening in the council meetings and what motions have been passed, which may have a
Yeah.
financial implication on the council.
So
That's
you're
quite
right,
useful,
it came up because of that.
Yeah, and something.
There was a question because the report didn't come here, but from a timing perspective, it couldn't, went straight to council. So then we wrote.
Yeah, I think we
That's
made a
right.
decision on something and I was a bit worried that the audit committee would have never been told about
Okay.
that. So I'm like, maybe you need to put any financial type decisions in there so that the audit committee go, oh, okay, we see what council is like.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah. It's quite good to flick through. All right, so this is really just information. And it's recommendations on me, I guess. Information
Be
received.
Just be
Yeah.
received, yeah.
Someone happy to know that, smack. Seconded, Peter, thank you. All those in favour, it's carried, thank you. So now we're on the status of the audit committee work program.
Yeah, just
I think,
Yeah, just through the chair, we pretty well monitoring on, just in reviewing tasks, continuing update on asset management plans for, building land and open space yet to be completed in November. If it's ready at that stage, and also plant and machinery, which was also mentioned in a previous report. That's, I don't think there's any great issues with the program at the moment. It seems to be motoring on quite well.
okay, Peter, you have a business. No. Happy to move that, Peter, you We'll do that, second piece. Andy. All those in favour? It's carried. Good. So that's it. We've got a confidential report to deal with. Move into confidentiality, I guess. Yeah, I guess. This particular item. I can close the meeting, it's best.
Just open the door and.
Yeah.
Tracy will just press record again.
Right, how are you?
If you're going to drive, you'll need to be.
Ah, yeah, he did that.